This is Michael DeSilva in the news update for July the 29th, 2018. And I want to give you this number. If you need help, you know anything, I want you to call this helpline. It's a National Human Trafficking Resource Center. And the number is 1-888-373-7888. And you can SMS, just type in the numbers here to SMS on your cell phone to 233-733. And just text in there after you dial that number, put that in there, and put text help in capital letters or info. You need some info. They're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or 24/7. And their website is titled this. Trafficking Resource Center.org. O-R-G. And so I want you to have that information. I want to tell you that there are a lot of women that groom kids to sex traffic, but it's not always just for sex. It could be also for slave or forced labor. And it happens here in America. Matter of fact, in Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia is basically one of the biggest hubs or pubs for child trafficking in the United States, believe it or not. Even Richmond has a small hub, and so does North Carolina. Every state has a hub for child trafficking in all 50 states, but Georgia is one of the biggest. Atlanta, Georgia, that is. So I want to give you these information, but you can get that number, that help number, 1-888-373-7888. You can call that number. So that's 1-888-373-7888 for if you need help. It's dealing with child trafficking. If you've seen something, you've heard something, because it's not just men that groom children. And maybe you knew from a family, but it's also women that can do this. Even lesbian women like to prey on teenage girls and like to do things with them inappropriately and try to groom them and try to do things with them and pay them or bribe them with things. You know, maybe you had somebody that you met that was watching your kids that was doing questionable things with your daughter or son, and you thought, they were okay, but really they were preying on your child or doing things inappropriately with that child in an unholistic way or manner. It wasn't just rumors, but they really were doing this because, one time I came to this person and I said, I like to, as an effort to help them make money in your neighborhood because they know a lot of people there. I basically wanted for them basically to just to go around and sell some of my cleaners because it would teach them some good work skills and would help them to have some type of vocation. For every can or every bottle that they would sell, I would give them $1. And I ran it by their mother, and they thought that I was trying to do forced labor on them. Like saying that I was a trafficker when really I was really part of their family, and I was just trying to give them an idea on how they could make some money. And I wasn't doing anything appropriate to them at all. And I never would ever dare to do that. I was just trying to give them a way on how they could make some more money in addition to their allowance, because they were saying they didn't have a lot of money. So I suggested it to both the parents, and that's what she said to me, that I was forcing labor on him. And the kid said, he's not forcing labor on us, he's just giving us an idea on how to make money. We could sell his stuff, he can make money, and we could also make $1 on every product we sold, and that would be good money, because that stuff pretty much sells itself. And that's all I was just doing, is trying to give them something to do, and they would develop a skill of working in teams and everything. It had nothing to do with anything bad, but they just misconstrued it and took it as that because they were listening to somebody that was giving them and feeding them a lot of ideas. And, it makes me wonder if this person who they were talking to, maybe she was the one that was the trafficker because she knew so much about it. And she's tend to act like she was the expert on the matter, and she had her introduced to other people that were living where I lived that were not stable and were not appropriate. As a matter of fact, she went into his apartment many nights. I don't know what that was all about late in the morning. Seen her being picked up late at night, going around the building and getting into the person's car and dropping her off over there off of Wonderland. I heard, because I had them followed. That's how come I know where she got out. And then she walked to her home on Allison Station there in the cul-de-sac there where they live. And that's how she got home. That's how she was able to pull this off. And she would tell her parents she was going over to her friend's house when really she was hanging out with him or hanging out with the lady across the hallway from me. And really she wasn't even supposed to be over there. And I don't think her parents at first knew she was going over there. At least that's what they claimed. But she was. So I didn't know what all that was about. So you got to wonder if there was some human trafficking or something going on of that nature over there because she kept coming over there, drugs or something. I don't know. I'm not saying there was, but I'm not saying there wasn't because that just seemed kind of weird how she was told not to come there, but she kept coming there even after the fact. And, just kept showing up. Even after she moved over to the other side, she was going over there to see this lady in question that used to live across the hallway from me. And she knows a lot about, pedophilia, and she knows a lot about, pedophiles and all, because she seems to talk and know a great deal about it, like she's an expert, like she does that herself. So it's not just ladies that are doing this to children, it's also men that are doing this to children. And sometimes people that are actually doing these things, the children will actually accuse other people of doing it, when really it's them that's really doing it. Because that's why they say so much about it all the time. That's why they know so much about it. That's why they tend to be the authority on the subject, because they're the ones actually doing these things that they're accusing the person falsely of doing, when really they're the ones really doing the things all along. They're just trying to use that as a side prop or a distraction to get it off of them. And they'll act like a good guy or act like a good woman, yet they're doing things inappropriate with your children. And there's a lot of people that you might have, a teacher, it might be a youth minister, if they're too close to your kids, or they may be doing way more things than normal. Some people will help your kids out and they're nice and they're genuine. That's the way I am when I help kids out or work with them. I'm genuine. I'm not doing anything inappropriately or anything. But, I was accused of that, but I was really just trying to help them because I just really love them, because I got to know them and I helped raise them, and they're good kids. All four of them are in this family. But I was pushed out because my beliefs were different, and that's really what the matter was. And then because she couldn't get me to leave any other way, so she made up this story that I did something to her daughter, and it was just plainly a lie from hell. When really I think it was the person who she went over to who was doing the things to her inappropriately, getting her to do slave labor, and she was probably paying her to come over there to get information. And it's just like all those other ladies were trying to get information so they could just go on and on and on about it, like throwing out fire on it, and I didn't even do any of those things that they said I did, and it was just totally not true, 100%. But the thing is, that's what happens. But, when people act like they know a lot about it, and they're always talking about it like they're the expert because they only watch Dr. Phil and they watch all these shows that they think they're experts about it, when really those people probably are the real child predators because they know so much about it and have the inside information on it. Because that's why they're always talking about it and promoting it and touting about it. And that usually is the case a lot of times. Did you know every 30 seconds a child is kidnapped or abducted or even trafficked? And so, within these few minutes, we might have about 25 kids after I'm finished talking that have been kidnapped somewhere in the world, or less, in the world, not just here in America, but all over the world. Because this, trafficking is a trillion-dollar industry. Just, it's bigger than drugs, because it's a commodity. It's called human slavery is really what it's called. And, a lot of times, they might try to get girls and even boys even to go, underage boys, even some that are even before they're teenagers, even as low as 5 or 6 or 7, to get them to pose naked and send. That's how it all starts, and get you to send things to like this back page, they called it, and it was on the dark web. It was similar to Craigslist, but what happened was that the FBI and other authorities, which is good, they shut that blasted thing down, because that's how they were able to get children on there to show, I don't know how they were doing it, but they were posting all kinds of underage kids on there doing indecent things and showing them, with, indecent and doing sexual poses and things. And that's how it all starts. And see, and then people go, it looked like a dating site, but it was really to pick up underage kids, both boys and girls. And it wasn't just men that were wanting to prey on these kids. It was also women wanting to prey on your kids too. So it's not just men that are all doing it. It's women that are doing it too. That, even though they try to be more conspicuous about it, but they also do it as well as much as men do, or maybe even more, because they try to win over the affections of the parent or the family. Then they try to convince that they're a nice person, a nice man, or a nice woman, when yet they're the ones preying on your kids and sexually taking advantage or exploiting them, or doing some kind of slavery thing to them, or bribery for some reason. There's a motive behind there. Uh, just like Christine, she was talked to when she was around 11 or 12. Around 11, she came from an abusive home. Her father was, just tell her story, her father was an abusive man, and every time he came home, they all were afraid. And it's like as soon as they were 18, it's like she said when she was 18, she said she would yell things to her father because he took advantage of her and was molesting her at a young age. And she lashed out and she said she hated him and didn't want to see him again, and he wished that he would kill himself. And then a lot of these people are real manipulative, the neighbor across the hallway, real manipulative. They might say, well, if you say something, I'm going to kill myself, or, I'm going to go to authorities on your parents and tell things about what they did that I know about that you shared with me, or they're going to just lie about it altogether and say stuff like that because they lie. And, sometimes they'll do that, to use that as leverage to get what they want from you, just to, so you'll be, intimidated and be manipulated to give the information, even if it isn't even true. And that's how all that stuff really happens. It's just like if you have a controlling parent, they'll use sometimes that tactic if they're really, really obsessed and real obsessive. They will do things like that to you, to lie about things, like to tell what you want to say. It says you say the truth, but they don't want to hear the truth. They want you to tell what they want to hear instead of knowing the truth. And that's kind of what these pedophiles and what these traffickers do. And they use a lot of tools like manipulation, and they'll use trickery words, and then they'll bribe you, and they might, take you to the park or give you an ice cream cone. If you tell them what they want to hear, they'll give you something, use that as a way of, or a form of bribery. And that's totally wrong, because really they're just trying to lie on somebody because they don't like them or they want to get them out of the family. That's what, in my case, that's what happened to me, and I wasn't one of those kind of persons at all that did any of those things. But it's just that the mother lied and made up a bunch of stories and got the neighbors involved where I was living. She was talking to them, and I asked her not to do it as a test to see if she would do it, and she fell for it, and she failed, and she went over there talking to them, and then she started getting worse because she was believing all the things they were saying, and it wasn't even true because they didn't like me. So of course they were telling her all kinds of stuff, and they just made her more worse because that's what she was thinking already. And I was like, I've said to her like on 5 or 6 different occasions, if you don't want me to watch your kids, then don't bring them over to my house. If you think I'm some kind of person like that, that's preying on your daughter or you're doing something to your boys, then don't bring them over, because I don't like the lies, and I don't like the insinuations, because I'm not that kind of person. I have not done anything to your sons or your daughter. And I told her that several times, and she still didn't listen because she still went and talked to these people. And see, that's what she was using, the same type of techniques that a predator or trafficker would use, the manipulation, intimidation to her children to get them to lie, or get her, in the case with her daughter, to lie. And she told me, I don't know what to do, Michael, because she keeps saying that you did certain things to me, and, you didn't do those things, and it wasn't even true. That's what she kept saying. She said, it's not your fault, and you didn't do this, and you don't deserve this, because, we all love you, and I don't want you out of the family. But our mother keeps saying, it keeps insisting that you did something. And, she's just lying because it wasn't even true. And that's what she did. She just kept on saying it over and over again, coursing it out of her until I said, well, just tell her what she wants to hear. She said, but that's not true. I said, I know, and you know that, and God knows that, sweetie, but your mother believes one way because her mind's made up, because she's somehow convinced herself that it is true. Because of listening to all those wild people over there. I mean, you all been over at Barbara's house, and you all were staying there, and you were there many nights, and you were listening to all that unchristian stuff from her, and she was manipulating you and intimidating you, and then getting the other ladies like Patricia and Danny, when he was there, he was in on it. And then also Miriam Tate was brought in on it. And so all these people in tandem were all just trying to get you to say stuff just so they could turn it around, just to make me look like I'm really a person that is bad when I haven't done anything wrong. It's just that they didn't like the fact that I'm a guy, and all you teenagers, or preteens at the time, were coming over my house, and they didn't think it was right. But it's all right for them to come over to here. It's all right for the kids to go over there, But really, if someone's a bad person, they could be a woman or a man. But I wasn't even bad, but yet they were just making up this stuff because they just had so much time on their hands, and they were old, and and their mother is just a homemaker, and she don't really have a lot of time on her hands. And it just hurt so much because it was just a bunch of outright lies, because she just wanted to get me out of her family and have me totally disfellowship. And it was just because she didn't like me figuring her out. because I was starting to pick up how she was using people and trying to get things from people for nothing. But she seems to get a lot of people to give her things for nothing and use people for money instead of paying people. And, and because she did a lot of that with me. And, and I love the kids. Of course, I didn't mind babysitting them, but she never even offered me anything except maybe pizza or $5 to watch 4 kids. And I watched them probably 8 or 10 times. And she never offered any more. She thought it was enough because she takes me around on Tuesdays to go shopping. When a lot of times when we went shopping, she would go shopping for her family too, which is smart. So it wasn't like she was just going there to take me there, and it wasn't really much out of her way. So I only lived like maybe 5 minutes away from her house. And, but out from their house. But, I offered a lot of counseling advice. And she said because I didn't have a license or a full degree in it, she wasn't going to pay me anything. That's what she told everybody and told me. And then she didn't even want to help me out in any way. And then she believed all the gossiping and all the rumors that all my neighbors were saying where I used to live, because I know she went over there spreading things around, and it just wasn't true. And that's why I say we got to get this out, because some of the people that are accusing people may be the ones that are actually doing the pedophilia, and they may be the ones that really are doing the sex trafficking. Maybe your son or daughter, maybe not in this situation, and set apart from Christine's situation that we talked about, the girl a few minutes ago. Maybe you might have that going on in your family. Maybe you feel like there's no way out in the situation you're in when there really is a way out. You need to talk to a counselor. You call that hotline that I gave you, that National Sex Trafficking Hotline, and they can get you in touch with it's a resource center that can get you in touch with a bunch of different resources and counselors that are everywhere. They're in your area where you are, as well as all across the United States. And of course they can help get you to a center or a counselor that's near in your area locally. And it can all be done anonymously, which is a good thing. And a lot of times when we're abused, or when you're just like if you're beat up, and you're being beat up in the domestic violence situation, like a parent is violent because they're drinking or doing drugs, or their addiction is causing them to be very abusive and violent. A lot of women think, well, if I just stay in it, then all this stuff will just go away, and they'll start loving me. And of course, most of the time that doesn't happen. It just gets worse and worse until either the woman who's getting abused or the man, and sometimes it's a man that's actually being beat up by a woman, like a woman gets beat up by a man. But it can go both ways on domestic violence. Of course, a lot of times they always like to put it on the man most of the time, just like pedophilia and sex trafficking and grooming and all that, when women do all those things too. They're just more elusive about it, but they still do the same tools and still can do that if they're like that. And they're very intimidative and manipulative to the parents, as well as to the children that are involved, in teenagers. Like the lady across the hallway was very manipulative and very intimidative and very persuasive to both the daughter, but also to her parents too, trying to tell them what to do, and yet their parents, and they know what to do. But she was sitting there being fully instrumental on that and trying to manhandle her family and control them too, to the point to where they were just doing what she suggested or advised it, when yet she was unstable and not telling the truth in the first place to the mother and the father of the kids. And that's what made it really damning, because they were lying the whole time, and they going over there listening to all the gossip that he said, he and she said, and putting the spin on it, and putting the tape recorder outside my door. And the point, I just said whatever they wanted to hear, because they were already suspecting me of it. And anyway, and of course I didn't really do that stuff at all, to say the least. I just got tired of all the scrutiny, so I just said whatever they wanted to hear, basically, just to get them away from me and to stop talking and lying. I knew the kids want to see me and they love me, and they know I didn't do nothing to them. All the boys told me that day when they were helping me move, when we were in there together alone before everybody else came. And they said, they don't like what Barbara has done to me, and they don't like what their mother has done to me, and what they said about me, and what Barbara said about me. They don't like it because they know all that's not true, Michael. They all know that. Even Beth Ann knows that. And we know you didn't do nothing to our sister, and we know you're innocent. It's just our mom just did that to get you out of our family, and that's what they all said. And we don't like it. We still want to have a relationship with you because we know you're a good guy. And we know you're a good person. It's just our mother didn't like you, and that's why she did it. And that's exactly what the boy said. They even spoke for their sister too, even though she wasn't there, but she was with her friends. But I know she probably wanted to be there, and they said, yeah, she did want to be there. And that's what Jeremy and the other kids said. The other boy said, Stephen and John said, they all said the same thing. Yeah, she wanted to come to help you move too, but you know, the way our mother's acting, she's still thinking all these things because of what Barbara and what Patricia and what Miriam and all the and whoever else is over there, all their input, what they put in there. And she's convinced that you're like that, and we know for true that really you're not that way at all. And I know, and of course I knew all this. They were just sketching me up, and of course this, you know, and it's nice that there is hope that I can really see the kids, even though the mother doesn't want me to see them, because you know she's just made her mind up. And once you're controlling and manipulative and codependent, you kind of make up your mind. You just don't want to. You don't want to ever change it, because once you get into that black book, you know, it's not a literal black book, but it's a mental one. They once they make their mind up, they don't ever change it, even when they find out the information was wrong. Like in this case, it was totally wrong. So many ways from Sunday it was wrong, but yet she's still convinced otherwise. So you know that's mental illness, and that's what mental illness looks like. When someone, you know, if it looks like a duck and it acts like a duck, quacks like a duck, and it really is a duck, that's one thing. But if someone's trying to make you look like or appear or act or be something, just like when we went before the Hanover courthouse with those three ladies that were talking to the mother of these four lovely kids, they lied to them on the court. They lied to the judge both times. They made up stuff. All the things they said were totally not true. And the video wasn't even taken off of YouTube. It was recorded onto a device from YouTube, but it wasn't even the whole video. And I was willing to defend everything that was in the video, because I said that's not even the whole video. That's part of it. But if they played the whole thing off of YouTube, which they never went on YouTube to find it, because they were just probably too stupid to scroll down to find it, because there's so many of them. You know, that's probably why. It's because they're lazy. You know, and yet that's what they should have done, because it wasn't even on YouTube. And I whispered to my lawyer, that's not on YouTube. That's been recorded on a device. And they didn't even go to YouTube to get it. So, you know, that was recorded, so the information on there was modified. I mean, because it was recorded, so it was all thrown out, because there's no truth to it, because they were trying to make me look like a violent, a very unbalanced person, and trying to make it look like I was a person that was abusive, and that, you know, trying to say that I have a questionable character, and none of it was true. Even with the two other ladies, because they all conspired together to lie. They weren't witnesses because they heard or saw anything. They were just all supporting that lady because she was that manipulative and controlling, and got them under pressure to go along with her. And that's how all that stuff got started. The merry-go-round got started, and that's how it grew and manifested to the point to where I had to leave to come to here, which I'm glad I left, because I don't have to worry about Sean's crap, and I don't have to worry about, you know, the three ladies, Barbara and Patricia, and the other Barbara and Miriam, you know, and whoever else. You know, I don't have to worry about their crap. You know, so now they have to find a new target to try to make up stories on, and you know, it's a shame, but that's what people do. You know, when they're like that, they can be very abusive that way, and sometimes, you know, that's how predators are too. So, if someone's always talking about it and always promoting it, then you got to know that maybe they may be really the one that's the predator, and that's who you need to really look at, because they're the ones always talking about like they're the experts, so maybe they're the ones really doing the things, and maybe they're saying the other person's doing the things, like in my case, saying I did it, just to take the attention off of them, when really they were the ones doing it all along. And you didn't listen to me, and you talked to this lady, and you brought them into her home and everything, and that's how Jeremy got that real bad case of asthma over there. You know, it was at a friend's house. It was her house, because I saw him over there. I heard him over there, and then 2 or 3 days later, when he was in school that Tuesday, he was in the hospital, because it takes a while for it to build up in the system, and that's what happened there. So, you know, that's why he got the asthma real bad. It wasn't because he was outside, even though that's what the mother said, but it was a lie in that story that they doctored up. But anyway, because I know he was over there that past weekend before all that happened, because I heard him over there. And I saw, you know, I heard, you know, Stephen over there, and I also heard, you know, her daughter Beth Ann over there. So, you know, they were over there, and that's the next week is when all that went down. So, anyway, but, you know, just call that 188 number if you have any problems and you need help. You can call that, text that number I gave in the beginning of the podcast. You know, but sometimes people will tell lies on people because they just don't want you in their life anymore. And they'll go to those extremes, which is really hard to believe, I know, and to accept. But some people can be that evil and that dangerous and that vile that they're willing to lie and even mess up their whole life, their family, their marriage, their kids, their relationship with their children, all because they just want to tell a story because they don't like you. So that point, they pull you out of the family. Because it's like a lot of people that are codependent, they don't want you to find out how they really are because they don't want people to think anything bad about them. So they try to make themselves look like something that they're not. They paint themselves by hiding, and they try to hide behind religion. They use that as a vehicle to try to hide their mask themselves behind, or they'll try to act like they're old. They try to put this image like they're like, Mother Teresa, when yet they're anything but. At home it's more like battle storm. It's like every time the kids want to ask something, they're always being accused, or maybe like they did something, or under some cloud of false suspicion, even though they didn't do anything. And they're like all walking on eggshells, and that's why they're all saying they want to get out of there when they're 18 and be gone. To have a relationship with the father, but they don't want to really talk to the mother about anything because she's ruined that. Because every time they try to say something, they're always being accused about something, and so it's kind of hard to talk to their mother when she's always trying to accuse them and prosecute them and say they're doing things when yet they're just asking questions or wanting to have simple advice for things. That's all they're doing. But anyway, I hope this helps somebody. And helps people out here, because a lot of this abuse is going on. I mean, we talked about sex trafficking. We talked about child pedophilia. We talked about the devices of what they use. And then we also talked about abusive behavior, like in matters of domestic violence, and how all these things need to be talked about in the churches, and how we need to bring more attention to this, because this stuff is real and it's affecting kids through all the social media. Parents, you need to be knowing who your kids are talking to and be there for them, and and always have an open ear and open mind, but always have that conversation with your kids, and have that conversation in churches, preachers and youth ministers, because child trafficking is real. A lot of people act like it's disbelief until it happens to someone near them, or it happens to them, and then that's when they change. But that's when it's too late. You don't need to be scared, but you just need to be informed as Christians. That's the right way, the positive way to go at it, and know what tools you have available, like the 188 number that I gave at the beginning of this podcast. So Michael De Silva's Take Care. Sometimes you can be abused and accused of things falsely. I'm a preacher, and I was falsely accused by this lady. And there's many people out here where this stuff happens, and this stuff has got to be stopped. That's why I share this story, so the lady, the family, the mother will get help, professional help, and also will stop hanging around those people who lied all along anyway, and told a bunch of stories to not only to their children, but also all the stories to the parents that are involved, because all of it wasn't true. And just from the very beginning, this lady, had an agenda, and when she knew that there were problems, she took advantage of it. That's what Barbara did. And then she got all these other people involved, and got the landlord over there involved, and got, the lady, the mother was all over there telling them things, and just got it all going. That's how it all progressed to where we are now. Now, I still love her, and I forgive her, but I just want her to realize that this is what I'm talking about she needs to repent from. And she needs to think about this, because what she did was so wrong on me on so many levels. And it's something you don't do to people when they're men of faith, when they were good, and they didn't do anything bad at all. So I didn't do anything bad to her children. I didn't, at all. I was accused of it. It was all rumorized and everything, and lied and brought way out of proportion, and embellished greatly. And that's what a lot of people are when they have mental problems, and they have schizophrenia and paranoia like their mother has, because she really does have the diagnosis. Matter of fact, she tells people that that's the wrong diagnosis that she has, and she shouldn't be on medication. That's what she's telling people, because he was diagnosed wrongly, which I'm like thinking, well, if she was diagnosed wrongly, then why is she on the meds? And why would they give her that diagnosis if that wasn't it? Because that's what people do when they have that diagnosis. They do all these things that I said. They'll listen to people and go to the green side of the grass where it's greener, it looks greener, but really it was all a bunch of lies when you get over there, because she didn't know all the facts, and she jumped the gun like she does a lot of times with a lot of things. So this hopefully will be a lesson for her, and hopefully it'll help her to mend things and fences with her family, and maybe forge and mend things with relationships and try to rebuild them, because she was wrong. And because she don't want to admit that, because a lot of them, when they're codependent, don't want to admit that they are wrong. They don't want to ever say they're sorry. because to them, they're always right, and they never make mistakes, because that's what she told me, and I literally laughed. 'Cause she said she never told a lie. She tells so many lies, all the excuses she makes, that's a form of lying. All the justifying she says, and how she always likes to blame her kids for everything that she does, or tries to blame other people when she's running a few minutes late when it really wasn't their fault, it was her fault because she didn't get there on time. Then she'll go up there and tell her husband that, oh, it was their fault when really it was her fault because she just didn't show up on time. And that's really what happens. But anyway, that's what they will do all the time, because they like to lie all the time. And they tell so many lies that when they hear the truth, they say, oh, you're delusional or you're hallucinating. And they try to act like they're a psychologist, when yet they're the ones that really need the help, because they're the ones telling so many lies that they don't even realize, and they can't even remember what they told one person to the next. It's just like I was there at Walmart, and she thought that two guys tried to pick up on her inappropriately, and they didn't. All they were doing is just asking her if she needed help with her groceries, because I was watching with a black guy and a white guy at Walmart in Mechanicsville, and she thought they were trying to pick up on her, and they weren't even doing that at all. She was just hallucinating. And that's really what happened there. And I'm telling the truth. And that none of those guys did those things that she tried to say that did. It's just like what she said to what I did about her daughter was not true. So this lady needs a lot of help. So just please pray for this mother and help that she does get the help. And help that her husband will open his eyes and realize that, and help direct her to get to the resources that she needs. And help that she can mend the relationship with her children before it's too late. So she can talk to them again and be able to talk to them about things without accusing them of things falsely or putting them on a false cloud of suspicion of things that they never did in the first place. This is Michael DeSilvas. Take care. God bless everyone. I love you. That's why I do this, because I hope that we can all get back together, because I know I didn't do nothing, and I'm not guilty of it because I didn't do anything. And that's the honest truth. I'm a preacher and a man of God, and I love you all, and I want to be in your family. I want to be in your life. I want us all to be back together again. Because I know the kids want to have a relationship with me. All four of them do. Because they all said that when they were over there. They indicated that to me. And they weren't acting out like you were acting. The mother was acting. She was acting out just to get me out of the state of Virginia, but they weren't acting out. So I know there's hope with me and the kids. So hopefully it'll change with the mother. Take care, everyone. I love you. God bless.